Hi there! In today's video I'm continuing working on my ChatGPT clone project. In the previous video I added this response copy functionality. So if I say something like write a function in Rust that prints out 5 first Fibonacci numbers, it will then write the function in Rust, hopefully. And then we can go up here now and we can click this button and it will copy the response. And if we go to a text editor and we paste it in here, then we get the response here. But this copy function copies the whole message. So let me do one more time. How do I write a basic PHP script? And now we actually get some instructions in the beginning and then it writes some code. But if we want to just copy the code, we can't do that right now. So if I click here, it will copy the whole thing. So we have the whole response, including the text up here, and then we have the code here. So in today's video, I would like to add a copy code functionality so that every single code block that it generates would have a copy button. So let's do that. So let's go back to our script.js, and previously in the update message function, we added this part. So we create a clipboard icon, and then we create a button, and we add the clipboard icon to the button. And then we add an event listener to the button, so that when we click it, we will copy the message from ChatGPT to the clipboard. And then we will change the icon from the clipboard icon to the check icon. So now what we should do is we should add something here where we add the code highlight. So we loop through all of the code elements in the response, which is actually converted into markdown over here. So I think that before we highlight the element, so this is the highlight.js to add the code highlighting. Before we do that, I think that the content inside the code block is just the code. There's no HTML or anything. So we could do something like let code equal element dot inner HTML. Now, maybe it would be better to just do text content because we don't want to copy any HTML code. Although, I'm not sure if there is HTML inside the code block, then is that going to be included in the text content? Let's see what happens. But we have to take this first before we highlight it, because after that it will be converted into HTML. So after we get the code, then we can add a button here. So we can do the same thing as we did here. Could we in fact extract this part of the code into its own function? So we could do something like this. We could say let copy button equal create copy button. And then we add the text here that we want the copy button to copy. So in this case it will be the new message variable here. So we will say new message. And let's add this function here. So function create copy button, and we will get the text to copy. And it will do this, and it will return the copy button. And instead of new message, this should be text to copy. And we might even just inline this, just put this inside here and do something like this. Not sure if that's a good idea, but I kind of like this way of formatting it. And then we could do the same thing here. We could actually say that element append child create copy button with the code as the thing to be copied. And that's it. Is that really it? Now, one thing we have to do is we have to add position relative to the code element, because the copy button will be position absolute in the top right corner. So let's do that. Let's see if we have code here. Yes, we do. We will just say position relative. And let's go back here and let's refresh this thing. And let's go here. And we actually have a copy button here. And if we click on this and we paste it, it actually works. End of video. Thanks so much for watching, and subscribe, and see you in the next one. Okay, perhaps this video is too short. Let's do something else as well. Now, does this other thing still work? I guess so. So I copied that and I paste it here, and this one has the markdown here. If I go to the Rust function and well, it's kind of weird looking here. They are on top of each other. But if I copy this one and I paste it here. It's just the code. And then if I copy this one, then it will be the whole message. That's great. And I can even copy the output because it is in its own code block. If I copy this and I paste it, it will do that. So now it works. I could have added this to the previous video, but at the time I thought that this would be much more difficult to do. Now let's fix this styling so that it would look nice even in this scenario. So let me go to 100%. What does it look like? It's still on top like that. Well, I could just add margin to the right. So if I go to the chat message and I would change the padding, now it's 5 at the top and bottom and 15 on the left and right. So what if I do 5 pixels at the top, 35 on the right, and 5 pixels in the bottom and 15 on the left? What would that look? That would look pretty nice. And if I zoom this in, it still looks pretty nice. So I will in fact do that. So let's go back here and let's go to chat message and let's do 35 and 5 and 15. And let's go back here and refresh. And now it looks good. Okay, so now that this works, let us move to the next issue. But first I will do a commit. So let's do git add p, and that looks good. And that looks good as well. That's fine and fine. Let's check the status and git commit m added copy code button. Great. Next issue. Let's go to our issues. We actually have one issue here, which is a very interesting one. So someone opened this issue about replacing the event source with mpetazzoni /sse.js. So the problem right now in this code is that event source, here we are sending the message as a get parameter to the chat message endpoint. But that is bad for many reasons. So first of all, there is a limit on the length of the get variables. Now there is a limit for the post variables too, but the get limit is usually shorter. And another thing is that, as you can see, if we open our logs, we can see all of our messages here. So they will all be logged into the server's logs. And they of course take up space, and if you don't want your messages to be stored in plain text in the logs, then maybe this is not the best way to do it. Now, I added this to do here already before to change it to post, but unfortunately the event source does not support posting. We can only get. Now, my idea for this was something like creating another endpoint where we first post the message that we want to send, and then we just listen for the response from another event source. But as you can see from this issue, is that there is this sse.js that allows you to use event source with a post request. So let's actually check this out and try if it works. So it is just here in the lib folder and it's just one single file, which is nice. Although I'm trying to keep this project dependency free, but this isn't much of a dependency because it's just one file. Now it is a couple hundred lines long, so let's at least try this out if we can make it work. So I will go to the raw version and I will copy the URL and I will go here and I will say wget this URL. So now we should have sse.js, and again I have to move this to the PHP folder. So now if we go to our index.php and when we are down here including our script.js, we would also include sse.js. And then we would go to script and we just call sse. I believe it was like this. Let's go to sse.js. Yes, it's just sse. And I believe that they made it so that it's like compatible with the event source. But then how did I send data to it? URL and options. Okay. So I have to do, this is the URL, and I'll remove all of these things. So we'll use just this, and let's do that. And then we pass in an object, I believe. And here we pass in method, which will be post. And then data or something. Let's actually look at the documentation. How does this work? So here, what are we doing? Okay, here we have making a post request and overriding the HTTP method. So we put headers. I don't think we have to put headers. Payload is hello world. Okay. And how do I make it post? Method. Is it automatically post? Or to make a HTTP post request, simply specify a payload in the options. Okay. So we don't specify method. We just say payload and it will be this, I guess. It will be just like this. So here is just a string, but I'm hoping that the content type will be like form data. Let's see. Let's see what it will be. And I have to have end parentheses there, and that should be it. Let's double check. SSE headers payload. Okay, that's good. So now I just go to my message.php and I change everything from get to post. And let's go back here and refresh and see if it works. Pretty cool if it works like this. Hello. It does not work. So let's see what is the problem. Maybe it is the header. We have to set the... we're actually not doing anything. Wait a minute. New chat. Hello. We are not sending anything to message.php, so something is wrong. New SSE. Do we have to call new? Yes. New SSE URL and headers payload. Let's try without this first. Does it do anything? Hello. No, we are not sending it. Well, that is disappointing. I am including this first here and then script, so it should work. Let's look at the documentation first. They actually say that you can just replace EventSource with SSE and it should work. Okay, I am getting into a dead end here. What do I do next? Let's go here and let's do just SSE. It exists, and if I say new SSE and I say /index.php and I do that, then did we get something here? We did not get anything. Or is it this one? Clear this and do that. Nothing happens. So what am I doing wrong? Do I need to do something other than just requiring the file? Okay, here we have the solution, I think. We have to call source.stream to actually start listening, apparently. So let's do that. Let's add here EventSource.stream. And do I need to add this as the last thing? So let's add it here after all these event listeners. The stop listener, the message listener, and error listener. Let's try if that works. Refresh. Hello. None is not type of string. Okay, so we are getting closer. Now the problem probably is in the headers. So what are we sending? Request headers, content type. What is content type? There's no content type. So I have to set here. Oh, I removed my things already. So, okay. Let's go back to this. So we actually send the payload. And then we call here EventSource.stream. And then we go here and we refresh and we say hello. And we still get none is not type of string. So then we have to go here and we have to add headers, which will be content type. How does it go? Application/x form data. Something like this. Let me Google this. Form data content type. Multipart form data. No, application/xwww form URL encoded. So let's do that. This is our content type. And we have to add a comma here. And let's try this one more time. Refresh. Hello. Hello, how can I assist you? Yes, it works. So now we can actually post to it. And does it still work if we say can you write a PHP script that prints out a random number 10 times? Sure, here's a PHP script that will print out a random number 10 times. Okay, it works. And I guess our copy functionality still works. Yes, great. Now, I do kind of like this. This really should be included in the actual event source in JavaScript. Now, let's actually take a look at the network tab and what did we send to the message? We sent the form data, and that's interesting. How do they do this? Like, why is this not allowed in just event source? Let's go take a look at this source code. So we just set some stuff here and we do this stuff and that stuff, okay. There's some event listener, yeah. Remove event listener, yeah, fine. Dispatch event, okay. Call this, yeah. Ready state, yeah. Custom event, okay, yeah, that's fine. Where are we actually doing the magic? On stream progress. So is that like a thing that is in the XHR thing? XHR. Is it XML? Yes, XML HTTP request. So here we have a progress. Okay, so that's how they do it. So you can't use the event source directly, but you can use the XML HTTP request and then add the progress listener to that, and then you can listen to it that way. And this, of course, supports post. Okay, now we might just implement it this way, and then we don't have to have all of these 200 lines of code. But now, what is the convention here if you want to use someone else's code? Because there's a package.json. Can I like install this with some kind of package manager? But the problem with that is that I don't want to have the user of my repository have to install some dependencies. I want the whole thing to just come from the GitHub repo and then just run it and it should work. So can I just add this if I keep the copyright notice at the top? Can I just add this code to my repository, or how does that work? So let me actually try and implement this myself with the original idea that I had. So I will roll back these changes now. Perhaps I should save this in some kind of branch. So maybe I will do git checkout b sse.js. And I add here that one, this one, that one, and that one, and this. But I don't add the sse.js. And I say git commit m added sse.js version. Perhaps I should add the creator's GitHub name here. Let's do that. So if you want to use this version, then you can go to the GitHub repository and change to the sse.js branch. But now I will remove sse.js and I will go to git checkout develop. And I will implement this in my own way. So we will do this. When we send a message, we will actually first post the message to some endpoint. So let's do that. We will say fetch base URI plus post message.php. Let's call it this at first. And how did this work? I guess we pass in here the stuff. I always forget how this fetch works. I always use jQuery. I think it's something like this. We set the data, which will be data, and we have to create it here. So let data equal new form data. And then we say data.append, and we say chat ID, and we add the chat ID. And then we do the same thing with message. And that is actually called question here. And I think we have to say method is post. And then we have to do then we get the response. This has to be like a arrow function. Response text is response.text. Is it that way? And then this one is also a promise, so I have to say then we get the response text. No, I have to say response. So this will pass the response into this response as some kind of object, and then we get the text from that object, and that text will be a promise. And inside the promise there is a string, so we have to say response text, and we then do something with the response text. So we say that, what do we say? We could actually then just do the rest of this, right? We send the message, and once we have sent the message, then we send a request to the server sent events version. So I will do this, and I will add it inside this. And I will remove the to do here. And then we don't have to send anything. We just send to message.php. And I can probably use the same thing, the same file for this. And we don't actually need the response text from here because it will be saved in the session. So we just post it first and we save it. And then we say, hey, get the response now. So can I just do then and I don't get anything from that? Now we should handle some errors or something, but I guess we can do just this. We fetch, and when we get the response, then we do this. And this just adds the message to the UI and creates a title after it's done. So now what we have to do is we have to go to message.php and we have to do something. First of all, we change everything again to post. And then here we add the new message to the messages array. And then we say this. We say if is set post message. Then we add it to the messages. And we just die. We don't do anything else after that. Well, we have to save it. We have to say session, how did this work? Session chats, chat ID messages is messages. So we save the messages here. So we just add our message to the messages in the session and end it there. We could die with the chat ID. And I should do some sanitization here. We'll just do HTML special chars over here. And then if we didn't get the message, that means that we want to get the response. So then we send the response to ChatGPT and we add the response to the messages and we just stream out the response and then we save the response in there too. And what else do we have to do? We still have to send the chat ID in the get request, which is not that bad, I guess. So maybe I can just use request, so it can be any. And then here we will do this again. We will say chat ID equals chat ID. But we don't send the message. We send the message here, but here we send only the chat ID. I guess that makes sense. So let's actually see if that works. Probably not, but then we can fix it. So we will say hello. Too short. What did we send? We send, wait a minute, let's do this again. Hello, too short. We send a fetch with the post method. And why don't I see the actual thing that we sent? And then we did the message event stream, okay? So I think the problem is that we are not actually sending the data for some reason. So data is that, form data, method post. Let's see how we did it. Oh, it's body, not data. So this will have to be body. And then it should work. Refresh and say hello. Hello, how can I assist you? It actually worked. So now if we go here and we check, we first send hello. And then we send the event stream and we wait for the answer. Great, so actually it works now. So let's refresh this again and try it one more time. Can you write a hello world code in C++? Sure, here it is. Okay, and it's still fast, like it didn't like slow it down. I guess we are sending 2 requests now, but I think it's fine. And then I can say, can you do it in Rust? Sure, here's the code for hello world program in Rust. Okay, so now it still works, and if we go to our logs, we only get the chat ID here. We don't get the actual message. That is great. And our title generation still works, so we have hello world code in C++. Assistance inquiry, hello. Okay, so it works. And we have a copy button, and we remember the context, and everything works. That is great. And that will be the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to my channel so you get more videos like this in the future. And let me know in the comments what do you think of my approach to send the messages as a post request instead of a GET, and by making 2 requests like I did instead of using the sse.js. Or perhaps do you have another way of doing it? So let me know in the comments or send me a pull request or an issue on my GitHub page and I will check it out. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next one.